talk to you for a little while. But before I make my move, my emotion starts running wild. My tongue gets tied, and that's no lie. Looking in your eyes.
All right. Good morning, my doggies. It's September. New season, the fall. I think a lot of people love the fall. Hopefully, everyone had a great summer. A lot to do over the summer, lots of ways to maneuver positions, make money, rotate around, use a tier system, be disciplined, get up early, do all the things you're supposed to do, as well as have some fun, right? Just because the summer's over doesn't mean you can't have some fun either. The fall's different, change is good, but what you got to do is stay consistent. You got to stay on your game. You got to keep your routine and process moving along, but adjust everything else around it so you control what you control. Anyway, my name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. I'm the founder of Red Dog Mindset. You are watching the 630 Club. The 630 Club was created in 2020 when it felt like the world was going to fall apart during the pandemic. But cooler heads always prevail. Cooler heads always prevail. Doesn't matter where it is, and it's going to prevail today. So anyway, last week the market got a little testy. The response to Nvidia wasn't great. The names that reported earnings that were strong in tech started to falter, whether it was Meta that was sold on strength every day, Microsoft, Netflix even, and then all of a sudden, Nvidia was sold and broke a few levels we spoke about, and then the Qs had a little bit of a predatory trap / break to the downside of the wedge. But anyway, good morning, guys. I see everyone getting up and rising and shining. If you subscribe to Red Dog Mindset, I appreciate you. We have a lot of new subscribers. I've already drank my 16 ounces of water, did a nice 20-minute workout in my sauna with some dogs around the world. They do a 20-minute workout every single morning. Think about the day, my positions, what's happening overseas, what I potentially will be doing for the day, and then I let the market confirm it. And that's after I do about 40 charts, which will start soon. But anyway, if you look what happened last week, this wasn't so, this candle by itself wasn't so like, oh my God, let's get so bearish. It really was what I saw in the Qs that got me saying, hey, you know what, let me just take a step back here. I don't like the action. I don't like what's going on. And September historically is a little bit of a tricky month. So here, this looked like we were breaking this wedge to the upside, and then this candle kind of trapped anyone that had a little too excess risk. So what happened, again, not the end of the world, but you break below the 8-day, and you always know when you're above the 8-day, you try and have risk on. When you're below the 8-day, be a little careful. And this candle right here said, you know what, I'd rather be in a little less risk and take a step back and let the market come to me in September. Last week was a little bit of a choppy week for me. I traded off my highs, so I didn't want to let, kind of like just roll down. But anyway, so for today, what do we have here? This is 568. 54. So 568.54 is the low from Friday. So the question is, will we reclaim Friday's low, or do we open lower and do we have a trend down day to start September to punish anybody who's a little bit off sides? We're going to see. Right now the Qs are down 5. So these are the Qs. So the Qs are down to 565.15, well below 568. So what do you have next year? This is the 50-day. I don't think the Qs have been at the 50-day in quite some time. So would it be the end of the world if it got to the 50-day? No, not at all. Some people are looking for it. But anyway, you get constricted like this. Sometimes energy brings you somewhere. And this right now looks like to the downside. But we'll see. Do we get a point of reference today, which we can, that we could trade and use for the week, or we're going to work our way down towards the 50-day moving average, which is a pretty big void right here. But again, this right there was a little trappy to me, so I wound up getting out of a lot of my positions. So now I get to see kind of what's happening next. And that, yes, it was a rotation. So Blair is talking about how the XLE and Oxy and some of these things were pretty decent, which is true. XLE is a power play. We had it on as a power play at the bottom end of the range. Bottom end of the range. My dog's double dipped. What's a double dip? Well, a double dip is, playing something two different ways. So we were buying the XLE down here, and then remember the pause. I'm like, maybe you could play it into the gap. So wound up working very well. Where what did this get as high as? As high as 90.62, and it's up a little bit this morning. So not everything's under pressure. You could find pockets and things to do, and the XLE has not been the place to be for 2 years. But anyway, it was a nice active sequence trade. I had Oxyon, but I took it off on Friday because I'm like, you know what? This is a nice move for me. Oxy has been this Buffett play that everybody's been playing, and everyone's like, oh my God, I'm going to be with Buffett and we're going to make so much money together. Anyway, it was a nice trade. And it looked like a little bit of a topping tail, so I was taking some stuff down. I didn't be like sitting in just Occidental Petroleum, even though it's up, whatever. Yes, that's the next thing. So Kenneth Rosenberg is talking about gold and silver. Very strong. That's true. I also have gold on, not because I'm a gold bug, not because I've been accumulating gold for the last decade like my brother or Peter or some of the other guys that are really good. They've been accumulating it since 2000 or 2007. My job, my yaba, is to time things. So last week we bought a gold call spread. Why? Why? Look at this channel. Look how gorgeous this was. This was the candle that sent me to put a gold call spread on for my community and tell everyone that I help coach and manage, now's your time. You've been accumulating gold since April, going sideways. If you're in tier 1 using Red Dog's tier system, get to tier 5 or tier 2 or tier 3 and whatever that was. And that was right here. Really nice move. What's gold doing? Gold's giving you a little bit upside follow through. So if you're in gold, congratulations. It hit a high of what? 318.09. So with that said, what you want to do right here is trim and trail. Trim and trail. Ever hear Red Dog say trim and trail? Well, trim and trail. If you're an asset allocator, and you follow Red Dog and you've been putting a certain portion of your portfolio in gold every single month for the past few years, congratulations. You're probably not selling any of this anyway. If you manage your risk and you trade options around your big core positions, well, into this, you trim a little bit. Anyway, someone's like, well, Red Dog, why is Bitcoin up if it's a risk asset? Well, crypto takes on different narratives a few times a year. Sometimes it's a risk asset on steroids. Sometimes it's hey, the governments are printing too much money. We can't trust the dollar, the euro, or anything. So we want to be in Bitcoin. And sometimes I don't even know what they want to talk about it. But anyway, Bitcoin is up a bunch this morning. And after closing on the dead lows. So that's a little trappy if you were short. I just got stopped out. I got hurt a little bit on this candle. This candle, I started buying some Bitcoin back, and then that happened. Here, at least, we tried it again and, kind of reversed into the moving averages. So it made some sense. But at this point, Bitcoin is, below all the moving averages. And, if you buy Bitcoin, which I did say in the last 2 years, every single month, like you buy gold every single month, then you're not trading. It's part of your asset allocation between equities and bonds and gold and silver and all those Bitcoin stuff. But anyway, what's Bitcoin doing this morning? Bitcoin itself is up a bunch. What's a bunch? It's a 62.59. So what's this? This is 62.76. This is where the gap starts here at 62.83. So we'll see how that goes. But again, it's kind of just a rebuild process. Bitcoin's not acting so special right now. Ethereum's not acting so special right now. This, some guys made some decent money if they got out of their little Bitcoin right into the moving averages, which made some sense too. And now we'll see, does it get in this gap and close it? I'm probably not trading Bitcoin today. It's not a great setup. Why didn't get option members not get gold? You did, Big D. Oh, you know what? You're probably not what's it called? The Power Plays options. So I do have two products. I have Power Play and Power Play options, and and each one of them is a little bit different. So some guys are members of both, some aren't. So I did go with gold, and I put on a gold call spread. So you would have seen it if you are on the Alpha team. You see my gold call spread. You also, if you're Redler All Access, you see on my disclosures, and we did send it out to. I think we did Power Plays options, not Power Plays normal. So you're right. I guess we should always do it on both. Sometimes we do it on one, not the other, but it makes sense. So someone's like, how do we measure risk today? I think you measure risk today with Nvidia. This was something that helped me get out of a lot of my longs. Okay, right here. Right when this was your loose and wide candle, right? Loose and wide candle after numbers. We like tight when it expands. Well, this was a loose and wide candle that did a false breakout of 184.85, broke below this. So that's what helped me get out of a lot of my risk also. Is once Bitcoin, Nvidia couldn't hold its upper area. I was in like 185 calls, and I'm like, I just got to get the hell out of this for now because I'm active, and I'm just gonna try and get out of the way. So anyway, now what? Right here's your 50-day. This is 168.80. That's a point of reference in here. So we'll see. Does Nvidia hold right here? Is it buyable today? Nvidia might be buyable today. If you get out of it, as it broke below the 821 day, because Red Dog's rules is if you break below the 821 day, you get out of risk and you don't hold something because it's not special. If you hold things in a swing long account and you get paid for a living like you did in August or you won in September, you only hold things that are acting special. Nvidia, this is not special. Loose and wide, break below the 821 day. I don't care what it is, who it is. That's not something you should be in actively. If you've been invested in Nvidia for like 20 years or 10 years or 5 years, that's a different story. But if you trade actively for a living, you know what? You should be out. Some guys might even be short. Anyway, this is 168.80. That is a level to measure. If it doesn't hold that, there is a lot of room. And that probably means, wake me up when September ends. Should we play that song? Hey, Alexa, play Wake Me Up When September Ends. Unless you're really bearish and you love to. Remember this one? Hold on.
Summer's coming fast. The innocent can now wake me up when September.
Anyway, it's a little funny. I like this song though. Very like relaxing. So anyway, people like Red Dog, why'd you get out of Tesla? Again, same thing. I like to be in things that are special. I like to be in things that pay you to be involved, and make it easy on you. And then on Friday, that just wasn't the case, right? So if you go to Tesla here, by the way, this is your bigger picture. So where did we buy Tesla? How do you use a tier system? How do you use pivots? Well, I bought Tesla on this day. And then I'm like, remember, we were here on that Monday in the 630. I'm like, you could buy it and add if it breaks this high here of 30, 40, 25 and sell some. It did it all the way to 355. And then what did it do? It did a little Red Dog reversal right here where it traded above 351.90, came below it, and now is either your spot to reduce or even get out. Depends on how you want to do it. I stayed in some, and then once it broke below this 340.27, I'm like, you know what? It didn't even hold, kind of just, it's not special. It's okay, but not special. So anyway, so now I have the luxury of approaching it today. 331.70 is the low from last week. So 331.70, 331.70. It's right here. So where is Tesla right now? Tesla is only down. Tesla's not down much comparatively. So maybe Tesla's buyable today. So if you sold Tesla when it broke 340.26 and you saved yourself $9, hey, maybe it puts a low in at 330, reclaims 331.70, and you get a little bottom tail here, and then then you see what kind of bounce it has. So that's how you use moving averages and pivots. Anyway, Scott, you triggered my Alexa to play that song. That's fun. All right, cool. Someone asked me Lulu and an AVGO. I don't know. I haven't looked at Lulu. It's like, why are you looking at like laggards? The stock's been obviously, battered and bruised, and I don't know. Unless you really have a thesis on spandex, it's been broken. But usually a name like this can rebuild. It's just not. This is not something traders are looking at right now. I'm sorry. And then as far as AVGO, it has earnings this week. Look what this did. This looked good, and then they kind of trapped everybody the way they did with tech. So this is going to be really important. So this right now is kind of smack in the middle. I think when's earnings on AVGO? September 4th. In 2 days. That's my wife's birthday. I guess see how it does, what it does today. If they discounted prior, Where's AVGO this morning? AVGO is down 4 and change. Very trappy. Last week, there was very trappy in tech. Look at Meta rolling over, so Meta also coming into the 731 gap. Remember, this was your first earnings gap, and it's been just doing a whole lot of nothing since. This is 731. Where's Meta this morning? Meta is below it. So that's what I mean. Tech faulty, tech rolling over. Look at Microsoft. Microsoft also gave some clues. First clue is when they sold earnings hard, and then remember when it broke this 517? So I guess it did hold 498. It's hanging in here. Where's Microsoft this morning? Down 3. So Microsoft's at least above 498. So maybe you could look at Microsoft to hold 498. Netflix hurt me the other day. It really didn't do a whole lot to hurt, but it just looked good. Looked like it was going to break above 1237. Then that happened, and it broke below the low. So a lot of little things added up that were a pain in the butt last week. So that's why I was like, you know what? I'm friggin' loosening up on a lot of my risk, and I'm going to take September, slowly let the market come to me. I still have a few things on. I actually bought UVXY, which probably doesn't work because UVXY is a broken instrument. It's the last thing you need. It's not going to help you against your portfolio unless we fall 4 or 5% from the highs. So what's UVXY doing this morning? It's up 45 cents. But this is just horrible. This product should not exist. A little tiny. Last time we tried it, you could have made money for 2 days, and now I guess we'll see what it does this time. But I would think if you really wanted a hedge on, I've the SMHs. If we're going to be led lower, it's going to be led lower probably a little bit by Nvidia. So it's a better hedge to be short, or some puts in the SMHs versus UVXY. Even though I bought UVXY on Thursday. Anyway, so just like Nvidia. So if you want to someone's like, hey, give me the chart of the SMHs. Here's the SMHs. Okay. Here's your upper channel. There's your 50-day. Here's your upper spot that kind of broke. This is a candle that broke below the 8 and 21 day. So now the semiconductors are below the 8 and 21 day. When you're below the 8 and 21 day, you're tactical. Your risk is lower, right? Trump making an announcement at 2 o'clock. All right. What is he? How is he going to call? What's he calling a national emergency with housing? What the hell is that? I don't know. Anyway, yes, Palantir has been leading lower. That's true, Andrew James. So Andrew James said Palantir has been leading us lower. True. Led us up and then got faulty. So if you look here at Palantir, this was your upper spot. This was, my buddy Todd and Bobby were selling 185 calls in this little spot naked, and they made some good money. I guess you could have bought puts, or you could have got out of the way when it broke 182. And I played it a little bit in here. So I think just like Nvidia, this is going to give us some clues on, are we going to be buyers this morning for things to go red to green, or are things going to be just sold? So right here, this is what? This is 152. This is 149. This is 142. Where's Palantir this morning? PLTR is down 153. So it's above this. You know what? If Palantir holds 152, it's going to be hard for the bears to growl. If it breaks, okay, just saying, if this all of a sudden turns into a bear flag, which it could, and it breaks below 152 and 149 to head back to 142, chances are market's going to be weak. If Nvidia doesn't hold 168.80, market's going to be weak. These are how you set up the framework of how you're thinking. Yes, SOXS is a good way to also to more of a what's it called, of a hedge. Hood for next week. Somebody's asking me about hood for next week. Yeah, just like everything else, it looks like all of the risk assets might get close to the 50-day. So the 50-day for a hood would be 99-ish. So yeah, if you're looking for a leader, hood has been a leader. Hood did break though, the inside wedge to the downside. So if you were playing for it to be okay, then you had to get stopped out right here. So now you have an opportunity to play it versus 99. And this talk, it's going to be put into the S&P 500 in September. So you have a lot of time between now and then. Where is it right now, Hood? Down a buck 63, not so bad. So this probably could be something to watch. I like it. Grumpy Grandpa reposted this stream. Okay. IREN, you know what? Leader, big time move. Big doji though. Big. That means a little loose and wide, probably needs time. So I would trade it verse 2562. Does it build above this and act super duper duper special and then continue if crypto hangs in there? I thought for it to be able to do that with Bitcoin going to the 100-day and Ethereum correcting to the 8-day, I thought it was very, very impressive. So let's see now. What's it doing this morning? It's up 23 whole cents. Not bad though, with the SPYs down almost 5. So yeah, so watch how this rebuilds. Is it going to hold this gap and go sideways and give you a way to accumulate, or is it going to break this and head lower? Because you don't know. People thought Meta was the absolute most fantastic thing out there. Had a big gap up, and then it filled some of it, made a new high, and now it's slowly filling, down towards who knows. So IREN. I always say if you're in a stock, be in a stock for a reason. If you're in IREN for the year because you think it's going to 50, which is a lot of what my institutions say, and you don't care about September, fine. If you're in it because hey, is it going to be special and hold this gap and go sideways while the market corrects? And then as soon as we go, it's going to explode to the upside. That's a different way to look at it. It all depends on how you're going to look at it. What up, Jim? I thought they already announced. They did. They announced IKBR for the S&P, but that's, every few months they put different stocks in and take different stocks out. Apple, let's see. Apple still acts okay. Apple is something I'm going to watch. Apple was upgraded today. We caught a really nice move in Apple from the 21-day up to about 233. My 235 was not my goal, but a spot that would be resistance. So I did reduce a lot there. So let's see what Apple does today. Does Apple want to be a safety trade? Apple's down $1.84. Sometimes the buy machine is on, and it just is, it's something that kind of it's like more like a safety trade, and you still have the event, so there's something there. I will look at Apple this morning and maybe use it to buy to go from red to green if something's going to do that. So we'll see. Right now the Qs are down 555, the SPYs are down this, and Apple's not, extra pressured. HIMS, What are you hearing? Morning, Scott. Also hearing chatter about Mr. Mr. hasn't really acted well at all. Mr. broke down before, Bitcoin did. What kind of chatter are you hearing about it in general? Oh, by the way, this is everyone talking to me, in my comment section and, in the 630 club. So Joe, who is on here a lot, I value his thoughts. I think he's even part of T3 in some way. Said something about Mr. being what kind of chatter. Anyway, where's Mr. this morning with Bitcoin up? It's probably up a little bit. It's up 350. All right, so see if it holds. But either which way, it's been controlled by the 8-day. It needs to get back above the 8-day. It needs to start acting better than Bitcoin again because it's been acting worse than Bitcoin. Mr. came all the way to the 200-day, just to show you and IBIT 200 days down here. So that shows you that Mr. has given you no extra value to being Mr. unless you just hasn't. Sometimes Mr. is better than Bitcoin. Sometimes it's worse, and this time it's worse. James Paul said Belichick didn't have a good opening day. Yep, sometimes it happens. My Ohio State did, though. People are like, Red Dog, why do you like Ohio State? My godson, Max, shout out to Max, goes to Ohio State. He's a senior. I visited him twice, once with Chase. We had an awesome time. His younger brother's there. So both of them are in Ohio State. So I'm an Ohio State fan. It's given me a lot of pleasure the past four years. Chase is only a junior. He's going to be a junior in high school. He's taking his road test today. Come on, I hope he passes and starts junior year good. And wherever he goes, I'll probably become a fan of that because I went to SUNY Albany. I'm not a SUNY Albany fan. Anyway, Mr. could be a short if the market turns. Coin is basing. Okay. Amazon heard a little bit on Friday. I'm going to leave you with Amazon. Amazon still looks kind of good. Still looks decent. Google was still good on Friday. But if the market gets pressured, chances are this is not going to hold. This is, what was the low? This is 228.16. 228.16 is the low. So 228.16 is right here. This is 220. What is this little spider? This is 226. Let's see if that, what the best thing that happens usually during a little bit of a corrective phase is you get to see where the money flows, what's the relative strength, what's your next great trade. So right now for Amazon is at 226, so it's below 228. Does it hold 226, or does it also want to see the 50-day? To me, it's September 2nd, my Chase's birthday. September 2nd. Anyway, I'm going to take it slow. I've already super bombed my whole account last week. What does that mean? It means I got out of a lot of risk. People from the Alpha team were like, why are you panicking? They did. You guys yelled at me. You yelled at me. Said, why are you panicking? I'm like, I'm not panicking, but the trade has changed, and I don't need to be sitting in 14 positions, as the trade to me somewhat changed. I'll day trade more, and I'll figure it out for the first few weeks in September. That's it. I'm always going to do what I think is right. I don't care what anyone says, whether you're, in Instagram, or you're on LinkedIn, or you're wherever you are, even on TV. The other day they called me up. They're like, you want to play a bull? I'm like, I don't play a bull. If I'm bullish, I'll come on and I'll speak why I'm bullish, but I'm not playing a bull on TV because you need a bull or a bear. I did that back with CNBC way back in the day too. That's why they got mad at me, because I wouldn't just play along. I don't play along. Red dog is red dog. I say it like it is. Every which way your money matters. If you're tuning in, I appreciate you. Today, we know what to look for. Will Nvidia hold 170-ish? Will Palantir go red to green? How will tech look? And and we'll see how it shakes out. I wouldn't be in a rush. What does Coach Wooden say? What he would say, hustle, but don't rush. I don't remember. Anyway, do you see a major correction in tech? I don't know, Grumpy Grandpa. All I know is this hurt on Friday. Okay, so what does that tell me? This was a bit trappy, right? It looked good, opened below the low, and stayed below it. So to me, said get out of some risk in tech, take a step back and see what's next. So what could be next? We could put a low in today and go green, or nothing really gets a bid. Things act like CRAP, and we head towards the 50-day. So we'll see. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Wow, this has been 30 minutes. T3 is going to be pissed off at me. This is the 630 Club. If you enjoy the 630 Club, you've been doing it for free since 2020, make sure to subscribe above, because at some point within the next few weeks, months, we're going to merge a few things between the 2520 and 630 Club. And at this point, I would love to see you grandfathered in for only $10 a month. Yeah, $10. This thing cost me $6, and it cost me $6 a day, $10 for a month to get the keys to the day, hundreds of levels, and a way to think clearly so you could execute with confidence. Not a bad deal. Anyway, we'll see how it goes from here. I appreciate you, Alan, Mr. Gladstone. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see how this goes. BMNR, yeah. So Joe is saying BMNR. I bought a little options for the end of September, just in case this wants to wake up. But obviously, we're going to need some cooperation from Risk and Ethereum for this to get better, and we'll see when. At some point, it'll be another buy. A lot of good players behind this, so I would watch out for this one too. It just takes time, because every time it looks good, they're going to have to raise money to buy more Ethereum. So that's kind of tricky. All right, guys. Good luck.